Right, Nelson, we'll get into it, yeah?
Yeah. Let's go.
Excellent. Well, Nelson, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's actually a real pleasure for me to speak to you. Big fan. How are you doing today? It's not as warm as it's been in the UK, in London, but it's still pretty bloody warm.
Yeah, actually, I mean, last couple of days have been a bit tough. I had a bit of a hard time playing and being functional in general, but yeah, it has been quite all right, actually. Like, life has been treating me very well.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that, particularly these days as well, and the state of play that we have in the UK. But let's talk about you specifically first, just focusing on you. And in particular, let's go into a little bit about your musical background and where, I guess, the interest in performing came from.
Well, I actually don't know. I always wanted to play piano because of Final Fantasy. So I was very young, and I used to go to like an after-school club, and the older kids, they used to play video games, and they used to bring video games to the after-school club, and they brought in Final Fantasy IX at the time, and I thought it was the most amazing thing ever. Everything was amazing. And at the time, it was a very groundbreaking technology with the pre-rendered, and the music was amazing, and the graphics, everything was amazing. And I was very captivated by that. And as time went on, I got more and more interested in Final Fantasy music. And I always wanted to play piano, but my mother was very poor, and she was never able to afford formal musical education or anything like that. And as I progressed into my teenage years and later teenage years, I started getting into anime, and I started getting really interested in anime music and stuff, and Japanese music. And then one day I was listening to an online Brazilian radio show. So it's called Radio Blast, if any of Brazilian fans are listening. And they used to play only Japanese music, only either Japanese metal or Japanese rock or music from anime. And then I remember I was studying for a chemistry exam, and they played this song from a band called X Japan. I don't know if you know.
Of course.
Like symphonic Japanese heavy metal stuff, with a lot of keyboards and a lot of super fast double bass and stuff. And I was like, wow, what is this? Because it was Kurenai, like the most famous song. And everything fast, and the violins come, and the guitar solos come, and everything is amazing. Like, wow, this is something else. And then life goes on, and next day, tune into the same radio, and they play another song, which is a ballad. It's called Crucify My Love, also from X. And I'm like, wow, you can do this. You can play heavy metal with violins, and then you can just go and write the ballad. And I didn't know that you could do that. I thought it was blasphemous. And at the time, I didn't even know what an instrument was, barely. I knew what the piano was. I knew what the guitar was. I knew what the Portuguese guitar was, but I didn't know what the drum was or bass or anything. And then it was like, oh, there is something else here. And then I got more and more interested in Japanese music, and the music from Final Fantasy sort of comes from there. And at the time, I used to listen to the regular stuff, like the Bullets for My Valentine. I was already into metal a bit, and Mudvayne, System of a Downs, all the stuff from the early 2000s and mid 2000s. And as I got more and more into Japanese heavy metal and Japanese music, I sort of got that Mudvayne, Bullet for My Valentine to the side, and I started focusing specifically on playing heavy metal and listening to Japanese music. So then, because of X Japan and Versailles and other Japanese bands of the time, I wanted to play guitar, and my financial situation was better. I was working at the time as a cleaner for my city council, and then I saved some money. I bought a classical guitar, so Spanish guitar, nylon, and I started playing, and then like it was not my thing. And then I asked my mother to lend me some money to buy a BC Rich Mockingbird, which I still have. It's over there. It's fretless now though, so now it's a fretless guitar. There's a story about that, but anyway, yeah. And then I got the Mockingbird because the guitars for X Japan also had a Mockingbird, but the Japanese one from a brand called Fernandes. So I wanted the same guitar, and I got the same guitar, and I started playing, and I did some shows in Portugal. I played anime conventions, which is the thing that I always wanted to do, and I do nowadays as well, which is really cool. everything comes backwards as a circle. So yeah, so then I started playing anime music, and I wanted to learn more about music, and I decided to apply to go to jazz school. Or no, actually, I applied to go to composition school, which is classical music. And the only thing I knew was Guitar Pro at the time, because that's what we used to read tabs and stuff. And I wrote a song in Guitar Pro with tab and stuff, but it was for like piano and harp and koto and shamisen stuff. So it was like actual sort of my way of writing bad traditional Japanese music. And then I did the entrance exam and I failed miserably, completely failed miserably, like flat out. I didn't know how to read. I didn't know what was a Baroque counterpoint or any of that. I failed miserably. I did the interview. They were like, how the hell did you write this song? And I went, well, I just wrote it on this program called Guitar Pro. They just looked at me, and you learned all the music theory by yourself. Yeah, I listened to the music and I got the notes, and they like probably thought I was lying. But anyway, and then a friend of mine recommended me jazz school in Portugal, and I went there for 3 years, and I learned a lot of music.
Oh yeah,
and that's the basis of all my musical knowledge comes from jazz. But I always wanted to play heavy metal and Japanese music and stuff. And while I was there, I met other people that had the same interests, and it was funny because the jazz people that wanted to do heavy metal, we all stayed in the same corner, and then the people that wanted to only jazz, they stayed in their own corner. So we would never mingle.
Yeah,
and like we were watching Meshuggah stuff on the phone, like, look at this 9-string guitar, and then and then like the guys that played vibraphone and sax like stayed on the side. And yeah, so like we were never friends with each other. And because also the jazz guys were really smart and they knew a lot of music, like we could never talk to each other.
Yeah.
We were still learning. There were like kids there that were like 13 or 14, and they knew way more music than we knew at the time. We were 19 years old. Like their parents were already musicians, and we were all really bad. I was really, really bad. I am still, but compared to them, I was horrible. Like, and I had actually I was well known for being the worst musician in the school, actually. So then I went there for guitar, and then I couldn't keep up with jazz guitar. It was too hard, and I switched to play bass.
Yep. And
then eventually I got the 6-string fretless that I play to this day, and I do all my recordings on it. So then it came from there. I started playing 6-string fretless there. And then eventually years go on, and I get a call from a friend, hey, would you like to come to London to study? I say, where's the plane ticket? Like no plans, completely no plans. And then I came here. I went to a place called ICMP, the Institute of Contemporary Music Performance in London. Me and 2 other Portuguese drummers. And there I met Fabio from Grimgotts. I met Ruben, which was in Skyward. The Skyward no longer exists anymore. Mutual friends. And then from there, from the uni, I started working with more and more people. Eventually Fabio quit before finishing the course. I stayed in the course. And then Fabio went to do stuff with Grimgotts before I joined. He did like all the part Men, Part Beast and Extenditus and the first album Lions. I don't play in Lions. And I was in a band called October Grey at the time. It was like super progressive, technical, heavy metal stuff. And then Fabio lost Grimgotts lost the bassist. And I went to see Skyward because Fabio was also playing in Skyward, and I said, hey man, I know that you guys are looking for a bassist. I sent a video to audition for the band. He's like, yeah, are you free on Saturday to come to rehearsals with us? Yeah. Okay, so learn these songs. And I learned all the songs. And that was the story. So then I've been playing with Grimgotts and stuff. And I was playing with October Grey at the time. And then from there, I thought that stuff with October Grey was going really well.
Yep.
And we did a show once, and then one day I noticed that the guitarist was not really comfortable around me.
Okay.
And at the time I was like having a very bohemian lifestyle, dating girls around and not caring about my body and stuff. And I thought, hey, I sent a message to the vocalist and said, hey, is Alex doing okay? I thought that we were friends. Maybe I'm doing something wrong with my life and he's not approved my behavior. I was not like neglecting the band in any way. So yeah, no worries, let's talk about it. So then we have a meeting and I get fired from there. We do a meeting, we have a problem with your attitude in the band and stuff, and I got fired. And I felt really bad because I worked really hard. It was very technical music and I really enjoyed being around them. And then all those bad feelings, they started manifesting. I stopped playing bass for a month. It seems like every day.
Oh, you froze momentarily.
Okay, sorry. So it was a long time to not play for a month because I was feeling really bad. And then I decided, you know what? Let me pick up the guitar again. So then I bought an LTD just because I wanted to have a guitar. I bought an LTD. I started practicing, and then I had a lot of songs that I wrote during jazz school, which was like sort of classical with like jazz harmony stuff. I wrote a lot of songs. From there, like, you know what? Let's do something with this. And so I started trying to hire people to play guitar for me. And no one wanted to play it, or they thought the music was too hard.
Okay.
So then I thought, okay, I have a guitar, I have a computer, let's do it on my own.
Yep.
So I learned guitar and it was really hard. It was really, really hard to learn guitar. You know, like bass is okay, but guitar is another completely different level. I was not ready for the difficulty. Despite me playing guitar for like a year and a half when I was younger, but I was not ready. But then I worked really, really hard, and then I started talking to people to collaborate. I was playing guitar and bass, and I did the orchestrations and stuff. And from there, I asked Fabio, "Hey Fabio, I'm going to give you this money if you resample all my instruments that I have on these songs. I'll pay this amount for each track. Would you be interested?" And says, "Sure, let's do it." So then I started singing the songs one by one. He reorchestrated everything. Then I started talking to other people to collaborate. And some people did not work out, and that was it. But I was working with a producer and things did not go very well. But then he recommended me a violin player for the album, and that's the person that stick with it, fortunately. And then because of that producer not working out, I got Alex from Grimgotts, our producer from Grimgotts, to work on the songs. And eventually a lot of people from Grimgotts got involved by sheer amount of luck. And I think that proves that if you are surrounded by good people and people that are responsible, those are the people that you should stick with.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, eventually more and more people of Grimgotts got involved. So Alex did all the reamping for my bass and guitars. Fabio did all the orchestrations. Dave did the guitar solo on a song that is already out. It's called FTB. So he plays lead guitar on that, that's why the reason why the song sounds good, actually. And Andy did narration for like a sort of ambient clean guitar thing on a song called Outlaw Chasing Dreams, which, spoilers, it's not released yet, but I put it already on Bandcamp, just in case. Because I was bored, basically. Okay, put it there.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then Alex, our producer, hired someone, zero cost. He hired his drummer from Nelson Moreira to rearrange my drums. They are not real. He just like changed the notes around to make them more interesting. So free of charge, and that was amazing.
Awesome.
I think that it shows more humanity, and despite me being able to write drums on sheet music the way that I always did it, and then I put it through MIDI, he made it like a drummer would play it, but it's not real, unfortunately. So then the stuff started taking shape, and the violin player did an amazing job. Matt Norris currently lives in Scotland right now, and amazing guy. And without the real violins, because that was the whole point of the project, was to have a real violin person playing the melodies that I wrote for vocals.
Yes.
That was the concept. So then he did an amazing job, and everything is ready, and now I am releasing one song per month. And that's where we are, I guess. Long story short, yeah, that's where we are.
What a story. What an incredible life story you've told there, touching upon everything from your early days all the way through, of course, as well. Although it's been mentioned, I just want to reiterate to people that Nelson is the bass player in Grimgotts. And I want to shout about that because it's no secret if you follow the website and the stuff we do that I am a huge fan of Grimgotts, of course. But we are here to focus on Fifth Empire. So you've described how the idea first started to bloom, but that initial shape, did you have a clear vision at the time exactly like what you wanted it to be? For example, the violin being the vocals effectively. Was that something that you knew you wanted at the start, and the result that you've got now, is it quite in line with what you envisioned?
That is a good question, and the answer is actually no. Because the first song that I wrote for this was a song that is already out. It's called Maken, and that song has no violin. So that song started with just like guitars and time signatures and crazy Japanese music.
Yep.
And it did not start there. I actually wrote it for vocals first because I wanted a band.
Yeah.
I wanted a band, and then one day I was listening to a band called Mahavishnu Orchestra, which is like a 70s jazz fusion. Like sort of almost heavy metal, but not there yet. It's still jazz, and they have Jean-Luc Ponty playing violin, and that is basically the role. Is like the violin is sort of a vocal kind of thing, and I thought, well, this is a good idea. Let me go to my guitar profiles and change all the melodies to violins. So I go there, press the button, and I put violin instead of vocal. And then I put all the melodies in octave up. And then I was like, this is it. Yeah. This is exactly what I want. And then from there, I did the same thing for all the files that had vocal melodies. I did the exact same thing, put them all an octave higher and listen. Yeah, this is the confirmation. But Maken does not have, because it was the first song. And so then I started writing harmonies for those violins because, okay, so I'm not limited by the vocalist, might as well put more violins on it. So some songs, they have 2 or 3 or 1 violin tracks. It's still played by Matt.
Yep.
But yeah, it goes from there. And then I actually had a period where, by pure coincidence, I discovered a band called gbhblofficial.
Okay.
And I looked at the name. This sounds very Portuguese. Let me see what this is all about. And then I pressed a song. Song was called And Plagueis. It's a very long title. I don't know if you know. It's a song starts in 5 and stuff. And then I started hearing it. Oh, it's in 5. So it's like time signatures as well. And then the violin comes in and I got completely heartbroken. Because that is the music that I wanted to do. That is exactly the music that I wrote, but they were already out there and they were already famous. And then it was like, oh my God, it's such a blow to my confidence. But then I endured it. It took only 2 days to get over it.
Good.
So yeah, so it was not instant. It was not instant. But if I had vocals, I think I would not like it as much, because the perseverance is that particular element of having a violin playing the lead on all the songs. And that's the focus, in my opinion. That's what I want the focus to be, is on the violin taking the frontman seat of the band.
I think, of course, you want it to be the focus, and I think it's important for me to say that it actually does come across in the songs that have been released, ones that heavily feature, it does come across quite importantly. And one of the things, I guess, that's happened over the period as you've been building these tracks and working towards what you've been doing is your confidence has clearly increased when you kind of got more people involved and you started to put the tracks together. Is that the case?
Yeah. Because I spent a long time not having money to even fund the album.
Yeah.
And when I started recording stuff on my own, and I was hearing the bass, and I was like, oh my God, I'm such a horrible bassist. And then I would record the guitars and, oh my God, my solos are horrible and my rhythm guitar is horrible. And I need to double track on this. So it's like 2 tracks of horrible guitars and 1 track of horrible bass. At least that's how I felt. And then Fabio sends me the first orchestra stuff. I think it was for Heavenly. And he just takes away in a good way, he takes away the attention of my bad playing.
Okay.
And because the orchestra sounds so amazing and all the parts sound so amazing, and then that boosted my confidence a lot. And every time that Alex would send me the reamps, and every time Alex would send me drums, and every time Matt would send me his violins, I would just put everything on my computer and I would listen. Oh, I wrote this and I paid this person and this is happening and this track is happening and this sounds amazing. So, and everything even became better when, because when we write music, we spend a lot of time listening to it. And then one day Fabio says, okay, so before we call it final on every file, come to my house and we will just make sure that everything is all right. So I go to his house and he has all my instruments reamped, everything is there. And he just put stuff and he put like an impulse response on my guitars and my bass. And then I say, is this the MIDI guitars? No, this is your guitars. Are you serious? I am the guy playing this. And say, yeah, that's you playing.
Amazing.
And that felt amazing. Honestly, it's a great feeling to see all this happen, because I've had these songs in my computer in Guitar Pro since 2015. And it took a long time and a lot of confidence and a lot of saving money to get here and to make this happen. And yeah, it's finally happening. It's amazing. I honestly feel amazing. And,
I'm so glad. I'm glad.
Yeah, and it's more amazing that I have people that I trust on it as well. I think that is the most important thing, because these people, they have been with my musical journey here in the UK for a long time, especially Fabio. I take a lot of pride in having Fabio as a friend, and then he teaches me a lot about life. And he does not read books or anything about philosophy and stuff, but I'm with him in a train journey, and he says the perfect thing at the right moment that I need to hear, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes all sense. So then, yeah, it's a great honor to share stage and being in a band with a guy like that, and having him do the orchestration for my stuff as well.
That's amazing. That's really, really nice. It's really good to hear. Considering you've been holding on to these songs then since 2015, where did you look and where do you look right now for inspiration when it comes to the writing of what you want to do with Fifth Empire?
Well, for now, the schedule is still the same. I'm going to still release songs, one song per month until I finish all the songs that are ready. And I've been writing ever since then, because I learned from my teachers that you need to keep on doing things. You need to keep on practicing, and you need to keep on writing. And the songs that I've been writing nowadays, they are still within the style of the violin is the lead.
Yep.
So there are still, I have around, I think 13 songs still on the demo phase, on the Guitar Pro phase still. So yeah, those songs are still there and they exist, but I want to release some 3 or 4 tracks in like power metal as well, like proper Grimgotts, Stratovarius power metal, and those songs are written as well. They don't have vocal melodies. They don't have vocal melodies, but they are not meant to have violins or anything. So it's going to be, I want to release 3 or 4 songs like that to see if my writing style adapts to this. I've written, so far I've written only 3 songs for Grimgotts. And some of them have already been rejected before. Like there's a song that is going to be released soon called Horsemen of Davina, which was supposed to be an instrumental Grimgotts song that Andy did not like. So it's too progressive, we cannot release this for Grimgotts. So then I took it for myself.
Yep.
And the title comes from Dave from Grimgotts. That's why it's called Horsemen of Davina. So it's inspired by his style and the Grimgotts style, but then with my way of writing stuff. So yeah, I want to release eventually some 3 or 4 songs with vocals. And I have another one with vocals that is a bit more extreme in the orchestral sense. So yeah, but then I also want to keep on writing in this style of like symphonic heavy metal that my idols did, like X and Versailles and Galnerius and Nobuo from Final Fantasy. And I would like to be a better writer also for, now let's put the blasphemy banner. I would like to write some sort of jazz fusion one day. I don't have the technique, I think, I think I don't have the language or the technique to do some jazz anymore, but I want to do it eventually. But for now, for the foreseeable future, it's going to be still the violin is the lead symphonic heavy metal kind of thing.
It's always, you're constantly learning and you're going to constantly develop as an artist. I'm sure if you went back to your younger self that was in jazz school back then and showed him what you're capable of now, that person back then would be shocked and wouldn't believe it. So who knows, in 5 or 10 years time, who knows what you'd be capable of and what you can learn.
Yeah, I think that none of us expect where we are at this point because we never believe it, I think. And I think success is a very bad word, I think, because it's always very relative.
Yeah.
And we can never expect that we cannot have too much wishful thinking. I think that is the most important thing. We need to be realistic and we need to appreciate sometimes the situation where we are.
Yeah.
Which is a bit I don't know, idealistic, but at least I still have 2 arms and 2 legs and I can walk and I can play. And when I think about that, and when I think like people like Jason Becker, for example, that they wish they have a life that we have. Like all he wants is to play guitar and he's in a chair. So when I think about people like him, I don't mind anything.
Yeah.
And actually yesterday I watched a video from a YouTube creator and he was talking about being an algorithmic slave, looking at the YouTube. And I'm sure that you know how it feels to be a slave of the algorithm. And he was talking about how it is horrible, and you go and you log into YouTube and the first thing you see is the ranking of your videos, like top 10. Like this video is performing better than 30% of your other videos, and he says it's a horrible thing. And I went through that thing recently, where every day I would wake up, open Spotify for artists. How many people? 17, 15, 5? Oh no, it's going down. 0 today, 0 tomorrow, 0 3 days after. And after watching that, it was very pertinent to watch that yesterday because it showed that it doesn't matter. And art and success and public reception are completely unrelated.
Yeah.
And what it matters is waking up in the morning and being happy with whatever artistic endeavor we do. So yeah, the public validation or the massive validation or our algorithmic overlord's opinion on us, it's all irrelevant, I think.
And ultimately as well, you're a musician, so the opportunity to do your own thing, play music you want to do at your own pace, and to experiment ultimately as well is your prerogative. It's your desire. If it makes you happy, then it should make anybody that listens to it happy too, because that will always come through. Is that what you kind of see in Fifth Empire as partially as well as an opportunity for you to experiment with all these different styles overall?
Yeah, I think that has always been the agenda.
Yeah.
Because I think that every song is very different, and every song draws from a different culture and a different musical idea. Of course, there's always heavy metal because that's what I want it to be.
Yep.
I want to always have a bit of heavy metal there, but when I listen to Macken, and Macken has Japanese scales, and then when I listen to Horseman, and Horseman sounds like Andy wrote a song in 5, and the songs that are more symphonic and the songs that have a bit more jazz on it, I think that's the point for me. I don't want, fortunately, I am unsuccessful enough. Fortunately, I'm unsuccessful enough to not care about what I write. If I was in a bigger band, if I was a bigger, well-known, much more well-known person, then I think that I would be a bit more scared of doing different things. But I think it's important that the moment you present yourself as a multi-layered artist, then I don't think you need to be scared of whatever music you release. And one of my favorite bands is a jazz band called T-Square. Okay. And they release 1 album per year, and they've been doing this since like 1976. So you can imagine how many songs they have, and they've done everything. They've played Brazilian music, and they played heavy metal, and they played jazz standards, and they played blues, and they played orchestras, and it doesn't matter because that's the way that they've presented themselves. But if you go all of a sudden, if you are in Meshuggah, and you know what, I don't want to play 9-string guitars anymore. The next album is going to be all orchestras, or it's going to be all Mongolian throat singing. You cannot do that because your identity is already in Meshuggah, is that not that well framed, but there is a general consensus of what Meshuggah is, and I'm just using it as an example. And that's why it's important that when you present yourself, you need to let the audience know that you are volatile and your product is volatile, and you do whatever you want, and the audience can accept it or not, and we're good. We're completely okay with it. And when I say we, I say me, and I say me as the artist and me as the audience as well. Like, we don't need to, we vote with our wallets.
Yes.
Vote with our Spotify subscription.
Yeah.
As well. And that's basically it. And that's where my music sort of stands, is it's heavy metal. And then from there, anything goes. Yeah, that is it really.
Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that you have that outlook on it. Because it's sure to result in some unique stuff as you grow as an artist. Well, but I wanted to ask you then, how much of an effect has the pandemic-stricken years we've been going through had on the existence of Fifth Empire? For example, would it exist as it is right now if we didn't have a ton of forced downtime because of not being able to really do anything the last couple of years?
I think that it definitely helped. I think it definitely helped. And because, first of all, the pandemic started right after I left October Grey. And so I used that bad energy to learn guitar. And a couple of months after, stuff shut down and I was at home. And I had a guitar and I had a bass, and I decided to do it. So yeah, I think it has been very important. It was a very serendipity thing. And another very critical thing is, because I at the time was considered an essential worker.
Yep.
People like me were still allowed to work, and we still had full salary. And actually, during that first year and a half, it's actually when I was able to save a lot of money that I then invested in the gear to allow me to record all these songs. And I take a lot of pride in saying that I paid everyone that was featured on the album. Yeah. I paid the violin, I paid Fabio, I paid Alex, I paid my mixing engineer, I paid Ruben that did the artwork. And so everyone got paid whatever they asked for, no questions asked. And so it was very, I know it's very bad to say this, but in an economical sense, it was very beneficial for me, because I was able to work full time and do the jobs that people did not want to do. So I saved money to do the things that I want to do, as bad as it sounds. But yeah, so in that sense, a bad thing turned into a good thing, which is what happened to many artists, I guess.
Yeah, and it's taking positives. You've got to take positives out of an incredibly negative period of time for the entire world. So any positive you can pull out, and yours is immense because of what it's resulted in, is always going to be worth crowing about. I know we almost have this guilt complex at suggesting that, oh no, good things may have occurred during the worst parts of the pandemic, but good things did happen. So it's no bad thing to mention them. Yeah,
I think it's I don't know. We need to look forward. I guess that is the real message here. Is just turn a bad thought and a bad energy into something positive, without sounding any like no religious attachment at all. Just like turn yourself around if you can, if we can, and that's basically it. And I'm really happy. I'm really happy that I made this happen with a lot of help from friends, especially. I think it makes it way more special, I think.
I'm really glad to hear you say that. So then give us the plan. What is the plan going forward? You've mentioned releasing singles at a regular interval. So describe that, and how long do you think that's going to go on for?
Well, for now, the schedule is going to be one song per month, because I have this amount of songs ready. And I looked into, we looked into the Grimgotts numbers last year or 2 years ago with the Tell Sagas and Legends thing, because we started looking at our algorithmic overlords, and we started noticing how they work and how Spotify rules over our lives and decides our value as human beings.
Yes.
And then you know what? Let's try and release 4 songs at a time. And that's where the idea came from. And I thought, okay, let's see how our algorithmic overlords think about this idea, and taking it to even a more extreme level, which is instead of releasing 3 or 4 songs at a time, which was at first the plan, I thought, okay, let's do 1 song per month, because I have this amount of songs ready and I have enough leeway, and let's see what Spotify thinks about it.
Yep.
And also it works because the songs are very different from each other. So it doesn't matter if they were in an album, people would think, why is this so different?
Yeah.
But then you have time to digest it as the audience, and you understand that the concept is for the songs to be different. So it works pretty well. And it also helps me with the promotional side of things, because I think that talking about myself, and I'm really bad at this social media stuff. Yeah. I'm really horrible at trying to post anything music related once in a while, or try to record something on the bass to show or something on the guitar to show. I hate it, and I don't follow any like mega guitarists because it damages my confidence a bit. So that's one of the reasons why I don't do social media very well. Mm-hmm. I don't enjoy it, and it hurts my ego a bit. But releasing a song per month at least makes me post something once in a while, and the algorithmic overlords stay happy with it. And I think it helps a lot, because if I released 11 songs that are ready, then I would have a lot of audience in the first month, but then it would be silent until I had enough money to record another 10 or 11 more songs. And this way there is a feedback loop. And whoever is interested can get interested over time. I think that is the biggest lesson. But basically the reason was really to please the algorithm. Unfortunately, and actually the results have been quite nice, because the algorithm actually has a way of working. Now that the conversation got hijacked by it, but when we post something online, it's really interesting how the algorithm works, because if we do a post, at least this is my analysis of it and the way that I look at it. You post something and it will only reach a limited amount of your followers.
Yes.
But the next time you post, it's also going to reach a limited amount of your followers, but it's going to be a different limited.
Yeah.
So it's going to be probably the same 20 or 30 people, but then the other 20 or 30 people are going to be completely different from that. There's going to be a threshold of difference.
Yeah.
And actually, fans from other bands and other people that I know and other friends and family, they actually engage in different levels. So for example, I had teachers from jazz school say, "Oh man, you're playing heavy metal nowadays. That's really different from when you were in jazz school." And then these people, they find out that I released something because of the way that the internet works. So yeah, I've been learning. I think that's actually really, really interesting to see how the algorithm and how things work differently with such a schedule.
Yeah.
But there's also a bit of a negative that I've noticed, which is when I reach out for people, for reviewers, especially like traditional heavy metal reviewers that like albums format. Yeah. They are not interested in reviewing the type of music that I do. Maybe they would be interested if I had an album and say, "Hey, check out the whole album and give me your opinion."
Yeah.
But they are not interested in, "Oh, I have 3 songs out and I'm releasing a song per month. Oh, call me back when you have the whole album." Yeah. There's not going to be an album. I'm sorry. So there's that dichotomy of you please the traditional way of consuming, which is still good. I wish I could release an album and they have a long-term engagement from it, but that also, it's a 50-50 thing basically. I don't know. I don't have like long-term data on it. I don't know if it's a good strategy or not. I know that the numbers for Grimgotts were good.
Yep.
And I know that at some point we got, for example, 12,000 on Spotify, which is a big number for us.
Mm-hmm.
But then the moment that we stopped releasing music, so it was like a period of, let's say, 4 months at a time of 4 songs.
Yep.
The moment we stopped releasing at the 5th month, where there was no songs, boom, it's cut in half, and then cut in half, and then cut in half, and then cut in half the audience.
But you know, I mean, as frustrating as that is, you know why that is the case. It's not
of course,
because people are thinking suddenly the music's bad or they're not interested. It's because it's not new. So does that kind of take away at least a little bit of the stress and worry, because you kind of like, there's a clear reason and we understand that? Yes,
of course. And we as the artists, we need to know that it's not us to blame.
Yes.
Like we are not slaves of the machine. We are humans still, and we do things the way that we want to do it, and we leave it at that.
So it's all pretty exciting time for you at this period, and as you continue to kind of work this out and plan going forward. I want to ask you, before we wrap this up, I want to ask you a specific question, go back to what you said at the very start. So your musical journey began with an interest in the piano.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would consider and like to reinvigorate at some point in the future, even if it's starting off with a keyboard?
I wish. I always wanted to be a good pianist, because first of all, it helps with the songwriting, and it opens up more venues.
Yeah.
If I had another life, I wish I could play piano. That's it. That's it. I wish I could play all the Final Fantasy songs that I always wanted to play. I wish I could play Xanarkand songs and songs from Final Fantasy IX and all that stuff. But I'm not actually very bitter about it. Interestingly, I don't feel bad about not being able to play piano. If anything, I felt really bad for 10 years for not playing guitar.
Yeah.
More than the piano thing, because the piano thing was a consequence of the universe.
Yeah.
But nowadays there's no that element is out. So me playing bass was out of insecurity.
Yeah.
And I had to go through that insecurity to finally pick up the guitar again, and I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy it because I don't have any attachment, any agenda of being better or worse. The only reason why I play guitar is to record my own songs nowadays, and I love it, to be honest. I really love playing it, and I really love playing bass. I play bass way better than I will ever play guitar. So yeah, I actually don't feel really bad, but I wish I had time and mental energy to learn piano and play some Rose of May from Final Fantasy IX, for example, something like that.
Yeah, it is that, isn't it? It's the time, the mental energy that such an instrument requires. So unless you're got a lot of money in the bank to take time off work and then to spend months and months and months working on it, I completely understand.
Yeah.
But things are looking really exciting then. Ultimately as well, you've got so much in the work, you're improving as an instrument, improving on the instruments you play, Fifth Empire, Spotify, Bandcamp, where else?
Where else? I don't know. So far that's it. I will release a physical copy eventually.
Oh, really?
When I have like 10 songs. I have the artwork ready for it, actually. So I have the album artwork ready in case I release it. And yeah, that's it. Spotify and Bandcamp and everywhere where you consume music, YouTube, and social media. Nelson Moreira, send me a message. Tell me how my guitar playing is horrible. I'm okay with it. And listen to all the cool people that I play with, and listen to all my cool friends from Death and Glory and Press X and Grimgotts everyone that does music in an independent way, support those guys, support GBHBL, and that's it. Thank you very much for helping the UK community and the heavy metal community in general with what you guys do. I think it's super cool to have like alternative forms of media supporting people that actually need it. I think that the big dogs, they don't need our help, you know, but they don't need more millions or anything. Of course they need money, but we need more people like you. That's it.
Very kind of you. It is our pleasure. Nelson, we'll leave it there. Thank you for taking the time to do this today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carl. And I hope to see you in the crowd one day.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?